Hi everyone out there in Facebook land, it's Amy from Mrs. Amy 123. Hopefully you can hear me okay because I can't see anything on my screen except my husband and my daughter there in the background. Today you're joining me for a plan with me. I've got a plan for next week. I was meant to do it at school today, but I had forgotten my USB. Doesn't happen very often, but happened today. So I'm planning for week 11, would you believe? Oh my gosh, I hate week 11 terms, 11 week terms. So I'm going into week 9 here and just going to use this as a template. So I just go File, Save As. Hopefully the mouse clicking isn't too loud today. So I'm just going to save this as week 11. I'm using week 9 as a template and not week 10 because it was a 3-day week this week. So it just sort of messes things up. I'd rather go back to a template that has all my normal lessons in it. So always got to remember to change this up the top here, or not week 10, week 11. And then I've also got to change my second page down here to week 11 as well. So using templates like this really saves time. So usually I start planning from Monday, but you'll notice that every now and again it's easier for me to just whip over and do the rest of the week for particular activities. But generally I'm planning starting from Monday. So literacy rotations is up first. That's just to see the board to find out what the different groups are doing for each activity. But my particular focus for reading in that week, I believe, is reviewing, because it's the end of the term. We're reviewing all the other topics that we've done for reading groups. Next up is spelling. And what I do for spelling is I come back over here and I open up my spelling task cards file, and I just go here to the start where I've got all of them listed out. And I think, just let me check my last week. Yep, we are up to size words. So all I do is I come over here and I just go Monday is going to be size words. So that's writing the words from the smallest word to the longest word in order. And then because this is spelling, because I've got this file open, I might as well just carry through for the rest of the week. So I'm going to go over here, and the next one over here is alternative capitals. And that's where they do a capital, then a lowercase, just going along in each of their words in a pattern. Sorry, I'm using my partner's mouse so that I'm not actually clicking my laptop mouse, and it's so hard to get used to it because it's a little bit faster and fidgety. Okay, so then the next one is baby blocks. So I'm going to come down here to Wednesday and enter that in. So that's where they look like blocks. You know the baby blocks you can buy, they've got like A, B, C and 1, 2, 3 on them. Next one is M&M words, and that will complete spelling for the week. M&M words, and that's just where they're drawing them like M&M. So they use a little circle and then they color in the circle so that the letter's revealed in white. So if you're coloring in red M&M and you're making the letter M, you would outline the M first and then color it in red so you can actually see the M in white like a true M&M is. Now that I've done spelling, I'll just show you this. This is my spelling task cards, and these are all hyperlinked in the menu. So on the day when we go to do spelling, I just put these up on the screen. Sorry, I don't know why that flipped like that. And the kids just read it. They have an example down the bottom of how to do it. And so most of the time I don't even have to really explain it to them. I can just go ahead and put this up and they can read it. So now I'm going to get rid of that. Now, because next week's a little bit weird because it's an 11-week term, I finished up some of my units already. And also Friday is a staff development day at my school. So I've got to move things around a bit. So this persuasive writing here is actually going to go bye-bye because I finished persuasive writing. But I do need to finish narrative writing. So I come over here and I open up my planner for narrative writing. If you're not aware, I'm a Year 4-5 teacher at the moment. And when I generally teach split classes, I usually take the planner from the year level going upwards or the majority of the class. And so this is just one of my unit planners here. And I'm just going to scroll down to week, which one am I checking? I'm week 9 with this because we've had the Easter holidays and we've had lots of public holidays and things like that. I'm a little bit behind in narrative because I prioritized getting persuasive done because they were writing drafts and then doing their good copy. And I didn't want to leave a big long time distance between doing those. They would have forgotten what they were writing and all their ideas would have gone down. So I prioritized persuasive writing and then knew that I could catch up on narrative planning this week. Oh, I don't want week 9, I want week 10. I'm doing week 9 this week. Okay, get your head in the game, Amy. Oops, I don't want to do that. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so just copying and pasting that over in there really, really quick, and I'm done. I also don't need to worry about any of the resources for this lesson, because at the beginning of the year, because I already knew what units I was teaching, I was able to go through this resource column here and print out all these resources in advance. So I could just sit on my computer and just go file, print, and print my class sets. So for example, over here where this activity, or this resource I should say, has this little person next to it, that means I need to print a copy for every one of my students. So I would have just opened that up and gone file, print 30 copies, and then gone and pick that up from the photocopier once I'd done my massive print session. So I don't need to prep any of these resources. I know they're all ready to go. So I'm just going to exit out of that. Then after recess, we're still doing number of the day for this last week. And we are up to mixed decimals. So, oh no, sorry, no, we're up to the past ones. We're going to do 2.4 for that one. And while my head's in the game about what decimals I'm doing, I'm just going to go across and do that for the rest of the week. So I just go up to 3.5 here. And then going down, we're going to do 4.6 here. And then finishing off our last number of the day ever will be 5.7. I like to do something at the beginning of each one of my maths lessons that is just revising topics, something that stimulates their brains, gets them ready for maths. So in term 1, I do number of the day. In term 2, we'll be moving on to mental math sorting strips. Okay, so I then look at my planner, and I've got this planner next to me. I'm just trying to think if I have one here that I can show you. I might have to go to Dropbox to show you that. You've probably seen them before. You can get my term planners for free by signing up for them. Let me see. Term 5 planners. So I'm just going off this document here. When it opens up, here we go. So because it's an 11-week term and I planned these for 10 weeks, I'm just taking the first week of next term and doing those topics because next term will be a 9-week term, so it will work itself out. So going along here, my maths topic is meant to be measuring length, capacity, mass, and volume. I actually did this in term 1 and I actually did really well with it, so I don't really feel like I need to hash that again already. So I'm actually going to change that. I'm actually going to do multiplication, and I'm going to change that out from week 10 down here and do multiplication first, because I think my kids just need a little bit more work on it. We haven't done any explicit lessons on it yet, and we've been doing mastery folders with multiplication memorization in them. So mastery folders are almost like you use them for sight words usually, but I've been using them to memorize their multiplication facts. And I know that a couple of them don't know the logic behind what they're doing. So they know that 5 times 2 is 10, but they don't really know why. So I've got to work with them to do that. But also they're missing a lot of the tricks. Like the 9 times table trick is that the 2 digits add up to 9. So just little things like that that can help them with memorizing those facts. I want to cover that. So I'm going to change this to multiplication. So I'm just back in my planner here now, and I just put down that my theme is multiplication. And then for the first lesson, I just want to do an overview about grouping, and I think also arrays would be good there. It's not arrays. So I think we'll just use maybe some counters and some blocks to represent different multiplication number sentences. Hopefully this is making sense. I don't usually plan at night time. I don't usually plan at home. I usually plan at school. So this is very, very different for me. I don't remember the last time that I planned at home. Multiplication. Oh yeah, this is not a good time of day to do this. So I've actually got one-to-one iPads in my classroom this year. It's trialing it within the school. And I think what we might do is we might take pictures of the arrays that they make with manipulation. Okay, this is a little bit ridiculous, but apparently I've been talking to myself for about the last, 15 minutes, because I had no idea that this Facebook Live had dropped out. Sorry for the weird screen. This is what it looks like when you go to share a live video from your computer. So nothing told me that it had dropped out at all. So So I feel really embarrassed now. And also I've gone ahead and I've planned out the rest of my week. So what I can do is I can still walk you through it. You just, yeah, it's just not my night. Just not my night. So I believe that you guys dropped out somewhere around me talking about multiplication, trying to work out those lessons. So I went through and I broke it up into pieces. So I decided this was where I was going to do my erase and my manipulatives. Then in the second lesson, I was going to look at the different multiplication charts, find the patterns, learn the different tricks. I went down to Wednesday down here and I decided that I wanted to do something more on arrays, but that I wanted to wait until I got to school to actually look up the maths books that I use and see what kind of worksheets they have and just kind of get a bit more of an idea around what I should be doing with Year 4 5s in terms of multiplication. And then on the Thursday, I decided that I was going to expose them to bigger multiplication sums, so give them something like 120 times 2 and have them formulate some different ways of getting an answer and talk to the class and show the class how they got their answer and look at all the different ways you can do it. Because I don't want to expose them to the algorithms too much yet. I want them to really experiment with different ways of doing it. So that was the maths. Then I came down here and I was doing my HAS. And so what I do for HAS is I just come over here. I've been working from my Year 4 5 composite planner for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders and colonisation. Yes, that's a long title. I could not for the life of me shorten it down. If you haven't seen one of my composite planners before, it just has the outcomes from both year levels on it. So this is Year 4 5 because that's what I teach. And then I just came down the bottom here and we're up to the last lesson. So I just copied this straight from here, right-click copy, and then brought it straight over here and pasted it onto my Monday lesson there. And then getting all spacey. If I was at school, I would also, while I'd be doing this, printing out any of the resources that I have on my computer that I am going to use for that week, because we have our computers hooked up to our photocopiers, so I can just mass print out the copies that I need. But for things like my units, because I know exactly what I'm going to need, I've already printed out all these things. And I think I explained that a little bit before as well in the first video. I'm all trippy now because I don't know what I've talked about and what I haven't, because the video tripped out. Okay, so then I went over to Tuesday. I'd already done most of the morning and I realized I hadn't planned vocabulary over here. So I went back and we're doing words for character traits and we just review it on the Tuesday. Reading Harry Potter, I've already planned the maths. Then afterwards, after lunch for design and technology, this term we have been looking at how to use different apps that we're going to be using for the rest of the year, like Pic Collage and Book Creator, that I really want them to have a thorough understanding of. And then we started looking at peripheral devices, big fancy word just to mean basically anything you plug into a computer. But the curriculum wants them to know the big fancy words, so we've been learning them. Having 11 weeks in this term has kind of thrown me a little bit, so I've just decided to stick some coding there. We're going to do some offline coding with my low-tech algorithms, and then also look at the Scratch Junior app, which is quite good, but very basic, so it doesn't take them very long to get through that. Then my Year 4s go off to sport, and usually what I do when one of my year levels is out to sport, I usually do health. But in this circumstance, the Year 5s have to do a practice NAPLAN test. That's a requirement because we are doing online NAPLAN testing in our school this year, where they have to go through the practice. We have to all have a go at how to log in and how to manage it from my perspective on the computer and make sure everyone's doing the right thing and just so they know how to work it. Then we came down to Wednesday, and I don't know if I spoke to you guys about the portrait and the landscape yet in the last video. That's the problem with this cutting out, is I don't know where I was up to. So I have been doing my planner on portrait. I used to do the landscape, so I'd have all my days of the week across the top, and it would run onto 2 pages because I was planning so much. It would run straight onto 2 pages, and it got so frustrating. I would have to constantly, I had it in a display file. I'd constantly be flipping the pages back and forth, and I didn't like it. So I thought this year I would try portrait, and I actually have a stand that I bought from Officeworks. It's a clear plastic stand, and I put my planner pages like this one in it, and I can just look at it whenever I need. It's on my desk, boom, staring me straight in the face. And I've got Monday, Tuesday on one side, and then I turn it over for the rest of the week, and it's really, really good. So coming down here for the other thing I was saying earlier that you would have missed because the video cut out was that I rarely ever go over the page anymore. So a day really nicely fits on one page. But if I do have any trouble, I just go back through here and I delete things. Like here, I've deleted the numbers. Usually in my planners, this is like 1, 2, 3 dot pointed, but I've deleted them to help save room. And then I might do other things like just deleting 1 or 2 words. So coming down for Wednesday, for writing, instead of writing, I decided we'd research into Anzac Day because we've got our Anzac Day ceremony on Thursday morning. So I thought it would be a good idea to do that. And I'll actually give you a run through of what that is in a minute. I'll actually bring up the resource because I did a terrible job on my last video, the video that wasn't recording when I was in my lounge room talking to myself. I didn't do a very good job of explaining, so I'll actually open up the resource in a minute. Then I looked at my planner. So again, here's the planner, and these are all free, available online. You just sign up for them, and I know a couple of people asking for the link, so I will put that back in for you. And I've redone it now, so you actually get all the planners for all the year levels in one email instead of having to sign up numerous times to get all the different year levels. It's just all in one email now. So just looking here, it says adverbs right there, so I'm using that. That's a worksheet. It comes out of my Parts of Speech grammar pack, and that's already photocopied, ready to go for this week. Then I came down here. Mass rotation is a chance for me to go through and work in small groups with kids who might not have understood the concept that we were doing the previous week, which we're doing probability at the moment. So anybody that doesn't have a good understanding of that by the end of the week, that's the time when I work with them. And the rest of the kids are off doing games. So I'm going to do multiplication games, obviously. The first one here is just with the cards. You just each get a card out and multiply it together. The first person to say the answer wins the point. This multiplication game is one that I've had for a long time. I'll teach this. And then with the dices, I was thinking they might do something like they both roll 2 dices, they both multiply it together, and the person who's got the biggest answer wins. And then I've come over here to Thursday. I've got the Anzac Day ceremony in the morning. I don't think we're going to have much time when we get back to the classroom, but I'm still going to leave this stuff in here. You never know. At least I'm planned for it. If I don't get it done, it's not a big deal. Then again, exposing the kids to the bigger multiplication sums here. We've got our class party on the last day of school. I don't usually do an end of term party. The only reason I'm doing it is because that was what the reward that my kids picked for their gem jar. So I have a gem jar in my classroom. If you've never seen the photo before, look back at my Facebook photos, you'll find it. And for each increment, for each mark on the jar that they reached, they got a reward. And the rewards increased in, what do you call it, like how good they were. So the last one was a class party that they picked. Most of my kids usually pick a movie. They picked a class party, and that's fine with me. After lunch, we are doing the NAPLAN revision quiz after silent reading. So these NAPLAN revision quizzes, if you haven't seen them yet, they are in the NAPLAN style, but they review the topics that I've done for that week. So if you look at the maths topic, then it will be on multiplication. I think if you actually look at revision 11, it was probably on a different topic because I've changed multiplication from the planner. The multiplication isn't on the Year 5 planner for that week, so I think I've changed that up a little bit. So I'll have to go and change the revision quiz for that. But then when you look at the spelling, it will be on plurals. When you look at the grammar section of it, it will be on adverbs. So it's just reviewing what we've done that week. Just because it has an NAPLAN word on the beginning of it doesn't mean it's anything scary or not related to what they're doing. It's just in the NAPLAN style. And I usually also teach a strategy for helping them cope with the test there. So like careful Kyra is careful, reads the questions really well to make sure she's answering the right question. Diligent Dolly watches the time and makes sure she's got enough time to get through the test. Guessing George guesses it if he doesn't know any other answers. And then instead of steam, we've finished making our pinball machines, or at least that's the hope, because we're doing that tomorrow in week 10. So hopefully by week 11 we're not doing them anymore. I'm hoping to finish that memorial project. So let me take this chance now to actually show you that memorial project so you understand what it's about. I've got so many files on my computer. So this is the memorial project that I'm going to do for Anzac Day. So what they're going to do is they're going to investigate what is a memorial. They're going to research 3 famous memorials, probably to do with Anzac Day. And then they're going to fill out the location and features, and then basically decide what are the common features that they all have. Then they're going to come along and start to design their own. So they have to pick what certain thing they're going to commemorate, whether it's a particular group that fought in the war or a particular war or particular event. They're going to put that down, find out what it was all about, find out some elements that they want to symbolize within their memorial. So the example I gave before was horrible, but I'll use it again because my brain's fried. It was horses. So if they want to particularly look at the horses that fought in the war, maybe they're going to have a horse on top, and that's to symbolize the horses that fought. Sorry, this mouse is so touchy. And then where would you place your memorial and why? Now there's two plans on here. There's plan and there's create. The difference between them is the plan is if you are making this thing for real, what would it be made out of? So they'd be labeling things like limestone or bricks. The create one is then how do you turn that into a model that you're going to whip up today? So then they'd be using things like cardboard. It also talks about having some things done in 2D. So rather than actually sculpting a man, if you want a man to stand on top of your memorial, they could print that as a picture in 2D or draw it as 2D and then stand it on top of the memorial. And then we have the reflection page at the bottom. So that's what my kids are going to be doing for Anzac Day. So then my year 5s usually go to sport on a Thursday afternoon. I'm guessing they probably won't, so it will give us a little bit of extra time to finish off the memorials and then maybe finish reading Harry Potter because I really want to get through that this term. Okay, so for the second time tonight, that is the end of my planner. I've really tried hard to make my planning more efficient and more quicker. I really want to be able to get through it because I want to have more time for other things at the moment, I really need more time to mark students' work. I've gone from having 20 year 1s last year to 29 year 4/5s, and it's just so much more marking, and I'm struggling to keep up and do the marking the way that I want. Sometimes I'm just marking like just a stamp, and that's fine. But there's other things like expressive writing and narrative writing that I'm trying to, do the rubrics for, and that takes a long time. If you're doing it properly, and you really want the kids to know how they're doing and where they're sitting, then marking does take a long time. So trying to get more time for that. You'll notice that there's colour on here. When I go to print this, it's not in colour. Our school's black and white. Mainly, they prefer you don't use colour if you can help it. But I like looking at colour because the purple relaxes me, makes me feel good. So I like having colour on here, even if it's not colour when I go to print it. I really like planning in detail. You'll notice a lot of people tell me that I plan in more detail than most people, but in 2 years' time, if I have year 4/5s again, I can come back here and I can go, oh, this is what I did here, copy paste. This is what I did. Oh, this makes sense to me, copy paste. In my first year of teaching, I was like, one sentence or a couple of keywords. That was my plan. If I go back now, I don't remember what I did then. I look at it and I go, I don't know what that lesson means. But the more detail you plan in, the easier it is to remember. So you can look at your lesson and you go, oh, I remember that lesson. That was a terrible lesson. I'm never doing that lesson again. Or that was a fabulous lesson. Yes, let's do that one again. So it's really good to have all these records. And I would love to have an Erin Condren teacher planner. That would be like, oh, they look so pretty. I would love to have one, but it's just not practical for me. I love it for my everyday planning. I have an Erin Condren for like my event planning and my Mrs. 123 planning and like to-do lists and stuff like that. I love that on pen and paper. Don't ever take that away from me. I can't do digital for that. But for something like this, where you're copying and pasting all this information, it's just too much easier and more efficient to just do it online and keep using your templates. Now, some of you saw that it said 2017 down here. Yes, let's change that to 2018. It was actually really, really funny. I published a picture of this when it was in the stand that I had it on my desk, and I published a picture of it. And I think it was a couple of days later that another person actually pointed out, it's got 2017 in the title. I'm like, no, I did not. Totally and utterly missed it. So yeah, that was really funny because no one else picked up on it until a few days later, and that lady picked up on it. So, okay. The other thing I do too is, sorry to just stare at a blank screen that's not moving, but I can't swap this to my face. Once you've chosen on Facebook Live to do a screen share, that's it. That's the only option you have. So usually I have a post-it pad next to me, and I will write down anything I have to do, anything I have to go and photocopy, anything I have to go and get from any storerooms. So on here, I've got most of this ready already, which is really cool. But things like Wednesday when I have to have a maths sheet, well, more than likely I'll have a maths sheet. If I was in my classroom, as soon as I printed this, I would take that book to the photocopier and then run it off right there and then. Anything that was on my computer, like that memorial one, if I was at school, I would just go print it to the printer and just go and grab it. 29 copies, brilliant, done. So here, I think the only things I've got left to do is, yeah, just the multiplication one and the memorial. That's it. So I don't really need a to-do list for that, but I'd probably still write it down anyway, just so I didn't forget it. And yeah, that's my week 11 term 1 done. And because, like I said, I think I've already said this, I think, when I go to do my term 2 planner, that week 1 will just get removed and everything else will just get moved up because it's only a 9-week term for me next term. So thank you anyone who stuck it out with me to the second video. I'm really sorry that it's split into 2 parts and that the first one just cut off like it did. Yeah, so thank you for sharing your night with me. Good night, everyone.